Hey guys, welcome back to the channel today. In my first video, I briefly mentioned some aspects of health and nutrition. Nutrition is a topic that I've studied kind of on the side my whole life, and I'm definitely no doctor or nutritionist, but I've always been one to care about what goes into the body. When I was young, I had a good amount of health issues, and I was kind of a fat kid, and yeah, I just always had interest in wanting to get healthy, wanting to avoid as much as I could the mainstream medical system because that's just something that's totally messed up in America. Wanted to start with this great tweet I saw from Thomas DeLauer the other day. He's like a fitness YouTuber influencer. He says, "Tell someone you ate steak and eggs for breakfast. They'll look at you like you're a glutton and know nothing about the human body. Eat a granola bar, a glass of orange juice, and a pancake, and they'll applaud you for a light and fit breakfast. We need to look at things differently." Couldn't agree more. The confusion around what is healthy in our culture, there's just so much information out there. And I think ultimately you need to find what works for you because different diets, different things are going to work for different people depending on where you're starting from. You know, if you're super fat and unhealthy and you have autoimmune diseases and things like that, like carnivore can be great for you, keto can be great for you. But if you're kind of just a baseline, already healthy American, I mean, certain things like paleo, just avoiding like ultra processed foods in general is going to be great. But, some kind of paleo or low carb, animal based kind of diet, that can work wonders for you. My journey to health, I think, really kind of accelerated in my teenage years. Around that time in my life, my family, we were heavily involved at this church back in Pennsylvania where I grew up. My mom tried to get me involved with music and like the worship teams at our church. And long story short, I became a drummer at this church when I was about 13, 14. And I got really involved with music from that point as well. How does that relate to my health and why I eat steak and eggs? Just laying the groundwork for the personal story of how I started to think about my health. There was this older man, a wise man who went to my church. He was like our sound engineer for the music teams, and so I got to know him pretty well. He basically like ran the sound booth at church every week, multiple services, rehearsals, and everything. That was his job. A lot of people around kind of saw him as somewhat of a health freak, a clean freak, a conspiracy theorist. But when I look back, like he was right about a lot of things, and I was able to learn a lot of just simple health hacks and tips from him. He was the one who just always drank water, ate super clean, had a lot of critiques of the mainstream medical industry. And my mom was a nurse, and we would sometimes talk to this guy together because we notice at like, potlucks after church and, dinners out or whatever, like, hey, why isn't he really like eating anything or ordering any kind of drink but water? And he would just say, like, oh, I'm a simple man. I just eat the same stuff every day. I cook broccoli and some kind of meat. And he was just so like disciplined with that. He didn't care like what everyone else thought at those dinners or whatever. Like they would criticize him, like, come on, like eat some pizza or spaghetti or whatever. But he just didn't really care. He was in his own lane. He didn't care how everyone else lived. And he just had his own opinions. And he didn't force them on everyone. But like if you asked him why he did certain things, why he would eat the way he did and didn't eat certain things, like he would tell you. And I learned a lot from that guy. And that was when I learned early on about things like seed oils from a very young age. Back then, no one really talked about seed oils, or at least they didn't really call them seed oils. This was back in like 2010, 2011. But I learned about, yeah, seed oils, toxic food like that. They were often called like hydrogenated oils back then, which you still see in stuff like, margarine and other ultra processed products. High fructose corn syrup was another one, artificial colors, stuff like that. For me, learning about those things, like it kept me mindful of what I was putting into my body, whether that was food, drinks, or even medical drugs. It was just the beginning for me. I didn't really make any changes to my diet immediately, nor did I have too much power to do so in my teenage years because I was kind of young and dependent and I had to eat what my parents fed me to an extent. But I would find myself starting to read ingredients and nutrition facts on pretty much everything in the grocery store. And I think that's a great habit that really everyone should start. Like learn how to, understand like the macros of something, read those labels, learn what certain ingredients are and what you shouldn't be putting in your body. There were some health hacks I learned, like, apple cider vinegar being good for reducing the impact of sugar, oregano oil pills kind of working as a natural antibiotic, simple things like that. Looking back, I remember seeing family members just totally enslaved to medication. Some diabetic and, on insulin every day, doing those needles, checking sugar after every meal, but still eating whatever was in sight, still just not caring about diet, thinking it's just, I just have this disease. I can't do anything about it. It's just genetic, or it's just what I was born with. People get that mindset. But yeah, they would just continue to eat crap, whatever's in sight, ultra processed food, convinced that diet soda is a healthier option. And the thing is, like, when you're listening to the media, which I think a lot of boomers kind of grew up doing, listening to the media and what they think of health, it's really just programming from big food and big pharma. Just like, you need to ask yourself, is it working for them? Is the food pyramid that we've been recommending for decades now, is it working for America? Like, hell no. I just Googled this, and this AI says here that our obesity rate is over 40% in the US. So, like, whatever the standard American diet is, which the recommendations are still like the food pyramid, which we know is very, not necessarily outdated because it's never really been right, but whatever it is, like, it's not working. And it's cool now that we have health advocates in politics like RFK, Make America Healthy Again, that whole initiative. I'm totally down for that. If we can make systematic changes to the FDA and to the medical system, that's great. But we still clearly have a long way to go. It's funny. The other day, RFK was seen eating at the new Steak and Shake with the new tallow fries or whatever. That's great that Steak and Shake has switched to beef tallow. Other restaurants are kind of acknowledging, like, yeah, seed oils are crap. We need good quality fats like tallow. But that particular case, like, it's already been debunked as far as Steak and Shake is concerned, because the fries they use, they're pre-cooked in soybean oil. Like, so it's almost like a joke. Like, yeah, baby steps. We're gonna get there. We're using tallow, cool, but like the fries are still pre-cooked in seed oils. Like, not doing much. But a lot of these chronic health issues that afflict people, they don't even know, like, that they can avoid them. And in some sense, like I said, with some family members, like, oh yeah, I'm just a victim. I have to do this, have to be on these medications for my whole life. And in some sense, they're just victims of that system, and they can't necessarily change everything. But there are things that we can change. Even if you are a victim in some sense, you can still take ownership of what you've done with yourself, and you can make changes. You can take control of the controllables and don't worry about the things that you can't necessarily control. So, steak and eggs, coming back to that. Now that I'm older and I've learned so much about nutrition over the years, and I have more control over my choices when it comes to cooking and eating out and food in general, I've explored many different kinds of diets over the years. And I think the different diets work for different people. Like I said, that's important. You're going to have to evaluate your current health situation and test what works for you. I tried about 3 months of a strict carnivore diet a couple years ago, actually. And carnivore is a diet of only animal products, pretty much, like meat, eggs, seafood, potentially some dairy. A few months later, after that, I switched to something similar called the animal-based diet. And I loosely kind of follow that to this day. Animal-based is like carnivore plus fruit and honey, pretty much as a carb source. So I still eat lots of meat, steak, eggs, chicken, but also a good amount of fruit, like berries, banana, avocados. I like to make smoothies a lot most days with raw dairy, either like raw milk or raw kefir. Kefir is like a yogurt type product, like fermented milk with lots of probiotics, very nutrient dense. And then, berries, banana, some kind of collagen or creatine mixed in, good smoothie. Breakfast earlier in the day is where I have lots of fat and protein. That's where the steak and eggs come in. And then carbs later in the day, generally speaking. The mainstream media and medical system, they'll tell you to lower meat consumption. Oh, saturated fat's horrible, causes heart disease, your cholesterol is going to skyrocket and kill you. This is a lie that's been around since the 70s, maybe a little earlier. The media has been lying about meat and eggs for a long time. There's nothing wrong with saturated fat. And cholesterol is not even bad for you. They just want to sell you, like statins, the medication that lowers cholesterol. They want to sell you the problem and then they want to sell you the solution at the same time. So you're just always dependent on the system and enslaved. The reality is that beef is one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, especially good quality grass-fed beef. Grass-fed is going to have a better like fat profile. You have better omega-3 to 6 ratio. You have the healthy trans fat, conjugated linoleic acid, stuff like that. I don't need to tell you all the health benefits. It's out there. People have done so much content on this stuff, and you can look it up for yourself. And eggs are up there as well. Not egg whites, but whole eggs. Seems like for a while everyone was just eating egg whites, and that's so stupid. The yolk is where all the nutrition is. The white's just some basic protein. And I'm not a doctor or nutritionist really, but I've been around. I've seen the impact that a good diet has had in my life. If you do your research and test it in your own life, eating steak and eggs for breakfast every day for a little while, you'll know, you'll feel it. You'll feel so much more energy. You'll see fat just melting away onto your body. You'll find yourself just getting healthier overall. And, don't take my word for it. Just try it. And I don't want to see people in the comments being like, oh, well, the media said too much meat's bad for me. We need to go plant-based for our health. And, for the planet, we got to have compassion on the animals. How about we stop being overly naive? Are you just going to be an NPC your whole life and believe what the Matrix is programming into you? Screw that. The media wants you fat, broke, childless, depressed. Next time someone gives you health advice, look at their diet, look at their life. How is their own advice working out for them? Are they fat, miserable, depressed? They say don't take advice from someone whose life you don't want. And I'm just absolutely tired of fat doctors telling me I need to eat more grains and vegetables when I clearly have a better understanding and practice of nutrition and diet than them. It's really they're just the NPCs who are just giving recommendations based on the food pyramid. And how has that worked out over the past few decades? More obesity, more depression. There are definitely good doctors out there who make good recommendations, but a lot of the time they're just going to be repeating what they learned in medical school, which doesn't really offer much nutritional education. It's just take this pill for this, prescribe this for this kind of patient, and give them a Band-Aid fix. And I'm not trying to act like I'm this perfectly healthy person who knows everything, but I just want to make an impact and cause people to think about their health. Take a look at their decisions, take a look at themselves in the mirror, and just want more for their lives. Because there's so much that you can control in your life. Don't focus on what you can't control. Think about the things that you can change and take steps to make a difference in your health. You got to try and, see what works for you. Maybe it's steak and eggs. It could be a little too expensive for your situation. I understand that, especially egg prices right now. I've had to get mine from, friends who own chickens, really. And ground beef is just as good as steak. You can get good quality ground beef for cheap from somewhere like Aldi or Walmart. That's pretty much all for today, guys. I just wanted to share why I eat the way I do. I'm not here to convince anyone that they need to do exactly what I do, but I hope I've at least made an impact in your thinking as far as what goes into your body. It's important to take your health seriously early on in life as if your life depends on it, because the reality is it does. Your life does depend on it. Don't start tomorrow. Take steps toward better health and nutrition today. Starting early on and caring about your health at a young age is going to pay massive dividends when you're older, and you'll be avoiding a lot of the heartache and just, physical pain. Even if you spend the money to get good quality food, eat healthy when you're young, you're going to save a lot of money in the long run with medical bills. So hope you guys have a great day today. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and subscribe and comment your experience and your diet, and have a good one. Till next time.